Most of us almost never think about that massive network of pipes running through our walls and underneath our floors. Well, today, we're going to change that. We're going underground in Minneapolis to uncover this invisible, high-stakes battle that's happening right underneath a typical family home. Okay, so to really get a sense of the stakes here, let me ask you a question. What's one of the most common systems in your house that, if it fails, can unleash a truly staggering 400 gallons of water every single hour? I mean, just let that sink in for a second. That's like emptying 7 full bathtubs onto your floor every 60 minutes. Yup, it's a single burst pipe. And what's crazy is how common this failure is. But the potential for damage is just catastrophic. And in some places, the risk of that happening is way, way higher than in others. And that brings us right to our case study, Minneapolis. This is a city that is, believe it or not, a uniquely hostile environment for plumbing. It's a place where pipes are constantly under assault from forces you'd probably never even think about. It all really boils down to these 4 environmental antagonists. Seriously, you can think of them as the 4 horsemen of the plumbing apocalypse in Minneapolis. Each one is a major threat on its own, but when you put them all together, they create a perfect storm for total system failure. All right, first up, you've got these brutal freeze-thaw cycles. You know how when water freezes, it expands? Well, that expansion creates this insane amount of force. We're talking thousands of pounds of pressure inside a pipe. In a city like Minneapolis, where it can stay below zero for weeks at a time, any pipes and outside walls or unheated spots are just constantly at risk of cracking right open. And it's not just the cold. The actual ground is working against the plumbing. See, the city is built on this clay and sandy soil that swells up when it gets wet in the spring and then shrinks back down when it's dry. So you've got this ground that's basically breathing, expanding, and contracting, and your rigid pipes are caught right in the middle, getting stressed, pulled apart, and sometimes even crushed flat. Okay, and if that wasn't enough, you've got the water itself. The local water is just packed with minerals like calcium and magnesium. And the best way to see what this hard water does? Just look at a water heater. A unit that might last you 15 years in another climate often fails in just 8 years here. 8! That's because those minerals build up, they corrode the tank, and they just absolutely destroy its efficiency. So, we've set the scene, right? This is a really tough environment. Now let's zoom in on one of the most common and most dramatic points of failure. Those old cast iron pipes that are basically a ticking time bomb under thousands of homes. I mean, think about it. We're talking about homes built way back in, say, 1925. Just stop and think about that for a second. The plumbing in these houses is almost 100 years old. It was never, ever meant to last this long. So the main culprit here, it's the cast iron drain line. For about 60 years, this was the gold standard. But here's the kicker. It has a fatal flaw. It rots away slowly, invisibly from the inside out. So how does it actually fail? Well, it's kind of a slow, creeping disaster. Here's how it goes down. First, rust starts building up on the inside, which makes the pipe narrower and narrower. This creates these rough surfaces that start catching all sorts of gunk, leading to clogs. Then, over decades, the walls of the pipe just get thinner and weaker. And finally, all that pressure from the shifting soil we talked about, it just crushes it. Game over. And the end result? It's a pipe that can, and I'm quoting here, collapse without warning and back sewage into basements. I mean, talk about a homeowner's absolute worst nightmare. So you can see how facing this kind of gauntlet, it takes more than just your average plumbing know-how. This is where the idea of a hyperlocal specialist becomes so important. Someone whose expertise is perfectly tailored to this exact unique environment. And this chart really shows you the difference. Look, any plumber can fix a leaky faucet, but a Minneapolis specialist, they know which specific neighborhoods have cast iron pipes that are just about to fail. They know exactly where the sewer lines run shallow and are probably going to freeze in the winter. That local knowledge isn't just a nice to have, it's the difference between a quick fix and a real permanent solution. And that expertise, it's not just in their heads, it's literally in their trucks. Their truck isn't just full of generic parts. No, they've got the exact brass fittings they need for a house built in the 1920s. They carry frost-proof fixtures that are specifically designed to survive a brutal Minnesota winter. They know the dirt in Powderhorn and how it's going to affect pipes differently than the dirt in Longfellow. It's just a whole different level of being prepared. Okay, so why should any of this matter to you? Because, believe it or not, your house is always talking to you. It's constantly communicating. You just have to learn how to listen. So let's go over a few signs that your home's hidden network might be trying to send you a message.
Let's break down a few of these messages. You know that weird gurgling sound your toilet sometimes makes? Yeah, that's not just a funny quirk. It could be a sign that your drain line is failing or your vent is clogged. Or if you see discolored or rusty water, that could be pointing to old galvanized pipes that are corroding from the inside out. See, these aren't just little annoyances, they're clues. They're symptoms of a much bigger story happening behind your walls.
And really, that's the main thing to take away from all this. Your home, it's not just bricks and mortar. It has a hidden history that's literally written in its pipes. It's shaped by the year it was built, the ground it sits on, the climate it has to endure, and if you can understand that story, that is the key to stopping a disaster before it starts. So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. What story is your home's hidden network trying to tell you?